Well, hello. Welcome to another session of Something to Talk About. Vaughn is away, and also Lauren is sitting in, actually for a couple of reasons. Number one, because the subject today is talking about seniors, and we just got back from a road trip celebrating Lauren's mother's 100th birthday.
Amazing.
And talk about an exciting event for seniors and all. We followed protocol and had the family together, and it wasn't as massive as we wanted it to be, but to celebrate 100 years, it was quite amazing.
She's my hero.
Yep, she is. She's the matriarch of our family. And I do want to tell all of you that are watching and listening at the outset that we are brought to you by KVGI Media, and specifically by Live Life, which is a great program with our owner, our host, Mark Warner, who does his weekly show about Live Life. You can go to livelifepodcast.com, get some more information and all. It's a great outlook on you and how you relate to life, and all. Does a great job. We applaud Mark for that show. It's been something that he has embraced his whole life, and now he's brought it to you on a regular basis. So we thank you, Mark, and tune in to Live Life right here at KVGI Media. We would also like to welcome into the show Terri Martinez. And Terri Martinez is with Mustang Creek Estates. And welcome, Terri. Glad to have you with us.
Thanks, Stuart. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
And you know, I would assume that occasionally you have the opportunity of celebrating 100th birthdays at your locations too.
We do with all of our different communities that we have. It does happen on occasion. We love it. We love it.
I want you to explain to our audience a little bit. There's a lot of terms for places where seniors can go. There are the active adult communities. There are assisted living facilities. There are nursing homes. Right. What is the difference between all of these, and where does Mustang Creek Estates fit in?
Okay. And so the only one you left out was independent living, which is kind of up there with the seniors as well, and kind of to work your way in there. So those adult independent living or adult communities over 62 or over 55, you're seeing a lot of those now. Those are basically people who just, they don't want the yards to deal with anymore. They just want to, have their own apartment and have some things taken care of for them. And so that's independent living. They're pretty much able to do everything. They have kitchens. They have, they're able to cook their own meals if they want. And some of those places also will provide a meal. So then you kind of move into assisted living. And at Mustang Creek Estates, we actually have assisted living plus, and memory care. So to kind of break those down, assisted living just is that next step in independent living. So they really need a little more help. They might need somebody around a little more often. Maybe they can't quite make the meals like they used to or don't want to. Maybe they need remembering to take their medications, things like that. And then assisted living plus is going to be they need a little more assistance, obviously. They've got maybe some help with showering, using the restroom. Mobility sometimes, definitely. Just some more care, a little bit higher level of care. And then you get into memory care, which is the full-on, they may have Alzheimer's or dementia. Not always are people going to go into the memory care homes that we have. If they're just kind of on the edge of it, or it may just be an engagement issue, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit today, but that kind of breaks it down. And then the nursing homes, Mustang Creek Estates is assisted living, technically, and memory care. Obviously, that's our title, but we are able to do almost everything in someone's care as they progress in the aging process. Nursing homes are where they need full-on 100%. Maybe they have IVs. Maybe they have other things that are keeping them needing that full medical assistance. So hopefully that helps.
And would you say job or in your profession, is there this tendency of going into more of these communities that offer these multiple levels, so that if people do, as you say, they may move in and they can take care of themselves a little bit, then they have a slip and fall and they break a
Right.
hip and now they
Right.
need another level, that they have the ability, instead of having to leave that community, go to another place. They can do
Right.
everything on site.
They basically are aging in place, is what we call it, kind of aging in place. So, part of the concern you have when you get older is, the confusion and the changes, and, all of a sudden all these moves and everything's happening so often. If you age in place, so maybe you're in our home or in our community, and I'll kind of explain what our community looks like if that's helpful. It's a little less confusing for them. So it's a little less stressful for them. So our communities, we have 5 around the Metroplex. We are in Allen, Saxe, Frisco, Keller, and Burleson. And we have a new development that we're hoping to open next year, and Flower Mound. And what we have homes. We build a neighborhood. So we don't buy a home that's already there. There are homes also that are called group homes, where it's an existing home that somebody moves into. They have a caregiver. They have their own bedroom. A lot of times they're sharing a bathroom just like you and your own home. What's different about Mustang Creek Estates is we build a home so that it's a home. It's not a big confusing building. So that helps with that mental progression and those things that kind of get a little intimidating. It's 1 story. We only have 15 or so residents in each home, and we have 5 to 6 homes in each community. So we actually buy that property and build those homes geared toward that living. And we have, each resident has their own bedroom and bathroom. So instead of having to go, wait or to, share a bathroom or anything like that, that's all included as part of their home. It's a really nice concept. It's like walking into a home. You walk in and there's a living room, and there's the open dining room, the open kitchen. And all of those things are designed to make our seniors thrive. I have a very good friend, if I can just break off real quick and tell you about her, who just moved her mom in from an independent living, moved her mom into the Allen location. And her mom was kind of, just sitting around in her apartment because they were isolated. They had to kind of isolate in place. And she wasn't able to go out and, go about the community. And it was a beautiful place. Independent living definitely has its perfect place. But she was at that point, and she was getting her memory was going. I actually forgot she smoked. So she was kind of getting to that progression, like smoked years and years and years and forgot that she smoked. And that happens sometimes. Not a bad thing health-wise, but it's an indicator. You might need to get her out of the apartment scene before she gets hurt or hurt someone. And so she went to Mustang Creek Estates, and she's thriving. Like, she's participating, she's exercising, she's eating. Our open kitchens, that aroma of that food wafting through the hallways. It's a small building, so they smell the food being made. They can come down and help prepare it if they want to. If they feel like they're able to help make a salad or set the table, we want them to do that because it's their home and it's like a family, and it makes them feel needed. That's a big thing with seniors. They want to feel like they're still needed and necessary and useful. So,
Terri, I happened to be in your Frisco location.
Yes.
And it really was, you say it absolutely perfectly. It's like a home.
Yeah.
And I was so nicely surprised. I walked in, and it was a very welcoming area.
Yeah.
And they were just getting ready to sit down and have lunch. And I was so impressed because they had one person making the food, serving them. It was like a family sitting down for lunch. And I didn't expect that. But now, are different houses meant for different types of people?
Yes.
Different stages of life?
Yes. So the assisted living versus assisting living plus and memory care. So those are the 3 type. So we stage them out a little differently. Our caregivers are obviously trained a little bit differently for the memory care, because there are some different nuances with memory care and seniors than, personalities and different things that happen there versus what happens in assisted living plus. There's a little more care. There's the helping with the restrooms and the incontinence and showering, and we can do that in all of them. It's just a little more necessary in some of the others. So yeah, it's great.
Each house has exercise area or maybe a card room.
So what they do is we each community. So let's take, for example, Frisco has an activities director. So the activities director is in charge of making sure that we have exercise programs set up. We have card games set up. We have, games and bingo and entertainment and things like that. Of course, the entertainment got a little hard. I, for one, actually sing with a friend of mine at independent living centers and assisted living centers around the Metroplex. Had done that for years before I started working with Mustang Creek Estates. And of course, with, everything the way it was last year, a lot of that stuff had to be stopped. Unfortunately, the good thing about Mustang Creek Estates, again, not trying to just throw the commercial out there, but to be honest, I've seen both sides. And the good thing about this was our residents saw no difference except the family visits, because they stayed in their homes. We only have that one caregiver who works in that particular home, on the different shifts. And so there's not a lot of exposure coming in. And they're not isolated in their rooms. They can come out, they still came out and had their coffee. They still came out and did their activities. So as far as an exercise room, not so much, but we do it out there in the living room. Anybody who wants to participate, they come out, they set up the exercise, the bands or the balls or whatever it is we have set up for them. And they do it right there.
So you didn't have too much COVID?
No, we were very, very, very low on that spectrum.
That's really unusual. That's wonderful.
Well, that's
that says it all.
Right. For management and everything to be able to react to that kind of a situation, because you're obviously dealing with the highest risk community that there is. You mentioned just briefly during the COVID time, are there any arrangements for relatives to come visit their loved ones at the facilities?
So obviously we had to follow all the CDC guidelines, and there are a lot, and they change. They kind of come in and then they go out, and so we're constantly having to train our staff and our caregivers, and they have been phenomenal. We have the best people taking care of our residents. It's just amazing. But there was always been the window visits where they could come to the windows, which is very convenient that we have a one-story home in, all of them are one story. And they're all set up in what we call the horseshoe design, I guess, for Mustang Creek, the horseshoe design. So there's not a lot of offshoot hallways that are sometimes can be confusing and daunting and intimidating. And everybody has a window. So that made it great. And then when we opened up a little bit, we were able to do porch visits. And if like you said, you've been to our community over there, we have the big rocking chairs and the front porch, furniture. So we just spaced it 6 feet apart, and they had 30-minute visits. And so each time we've hit that level of opening up and maybe closing back down, we've been able to adjust very easily.
Amazing. That's wonderful.
It almost sounds to me a little bit like a fraternity setup for seniors. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of colleges have the pod setups where it might be 4 to 6 people that share a common living room and a common sitting area and a kitchen, and all. So I mean, it's obviously a very workable plan.
Oh yeah. We've been in Allen. Allen was our first community, and we have been there since 2005. So yeah, it's definitely working. And it's funny that you say that about a fraternity, because we actually had a woman tell us that her mom calls it her sorority. Because, it so happens to be all women in her particular home. It's not necessarily a set up that way, but it is co-ed. But it just so happened that it was all her girlfriends in her home, and it's just amazing. There's no dress code either. So sometimes you'll have a larger facility that has, you have to dress for dinner or whatever. And those places are great for people who want them. Highly recommend them. they're resorty and they're fun, and that's great for those who want them. But if you are looking for something truly like a home, I'll walk in, and I don't go to the communities very often just to reduce the exposure. But occasionally I have to go pick something up or whatever. And it's so awesome to just walk in, and they're all, the ladies are sitting at the dining room table in their house coat, drinking their coffee and chit chatting, and, we allow pets. Some of them will have their dogs out there with them. And as long as they can kind of, take care of them to some degree, it will help with that a little bit. But yeah, it's a home. That's exactly what it is.
Now, did you say the first one started in Allen in 2005?
Correct.
So, and now you have 5 locations with a 6th one being planned within 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. It's.
I think. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a plan that works.
Right.
And all, who are the people that started this concept?
So our owners are Renee Ramsey and one of them, and she was in the physical therapy industry. And so she saw the need, she saw the niche, and wanted to create something that would really help in, that mid range. And, one of the things that she really wanted to hit, and it's in our mission statement, we're very mission focused on being affordable. We're not the high-rise, resorty pricing, and we're not going to be the Medicaid. We are all private pay, but we help you figure those things out too. But it's all inclusive and it's affordable. So all the services, if you go to our website, you can do a virtual tour even. And on some of our networking things that we've done, I'll take you on a little bit of a tour. There you go. And there's a video on there, to show the bedrooms or the kitchen or however you want to look at it. Those are our homes. I mean, they're just beautiful. They're beautifully built. And everything's taken into account. If you were in the Frisco location, I don't know if you happen to see the memory care home that we have there, does have an extra room for activities. And there are some different things with memory care, like the secured outdoor area. The secured kitchen, that's one of the few homes that you'll see in our communities that has a secure area where you can't just walk into the kitchen for obvious reasons. We don't want someone going in there and hurting themselves, but all the other homes, they can have their snacks in there. We provide 3 meals a day. If they want to help, they can. It's just a great setup.
That was my next question. 3 meals a day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
And I also saw a bus. So for those that are able, you take them, to the grocery store, doctor's appointments?
So as far as the grocery store, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one thing that we are very different also. We don't want to look in any way, shape, or form like an institutionalized community. We do all our own grocery shopping at the local grocery store. Our caregivers have a certain day of the week that they get their menu plan from the registered dietitian that we have. They go out and they buy the groceries, they come back and they cook the meals based on that menu. As far as our residents, yes. One of the things, as a matter of fact, they just recently were able to start taking them out again with very little exposure. So they do a sundown or a sunset drive, and they'll take them out and just drive around and look at the sunset, or they call it a sightseeing tour. They may take them to different parts of town, go and get ice cream where they just pull in, they give it the order. Our caregiver goes in and gets it and brings it all back out so they don't have to go in. And so they're constantly figuring things out where they can take them out. If they have doctor's appointments, a lot of times the family members will take them for those. But there are some arrangements we can make as well. So yeah, we do have the little shuttle buses that we can take them places once everything opens back up. We'll be able to do that.
For those that are watching and listening to the show, Are there certain signs that you would suggest that people keep in mind when they're looking at their parents or grandparents, and the signs that would say that they are maybe moving a little bit away from independent living and now need to go into assisted living?
I will be honest, this is my first experience working in this industry, but what I have learned since I started there are some of the things, the memory thing, of course, if they're forgetting to, well, just like my friend's mom, she forgot she smoked. In our mind, that's kind of that's a big thing. Good thing, but then again, are you forgetting to turn off the stove? Are you forgetting to, you gotta think about those things. What can they hurt themselves or others with? So the memory thing, of course, obviously is there. Maybe they are wetting the bed a lot more often than they used to. Are they looking thinner? Are you not buying groceries for them as often because they're forgetting to prepare, or they just don't want to prepare their meals, or they don't feel like they have the energy to prepare their meals? I think those are the kinds of things you start really looking, their well-being, their mental state. Are they just sitting around doing nothing? Do we need to get them back engaged? And just like my friend's mom, I mean, it's just incredible to see the difference in just a few weeks. My friend was like, oh, she's not going to do that. She's not going to participate in that. She'll want to see singers come in because she used to come down for our shows all the time. And I got the newsletter the other day, and there's her mom with a little hat on for their red hat day. And then there's her mom doing exercises, and there's her mom playing cards. And I'm like, I think maybe she just didn't have the opportunity or the encouragement, because they'll go around to get them. And that's a good thing about a small home. Our caregivers will go out and come down here, and we're going to have s'mores, or we're going to play this game. It's getting them engaged and showing them that someone really wants them there to participate. And not only for them, but I will throw this last part in. For the caregiver who is taking care of that senior, not in our homes, but the family member, you have to honestly look at how it's affecting you as well. Because even though you love that person, are you really able to provide them what they need? Are you 100% of the time, 24/7?
Good point.
And it's a hard thing to think about, because there are loved ones. Of course I love them. Of course I can take care of them, but you can't. And it's so hard on you. And then you're not taking care of them or yourself. So I think that's a big one. That's what we do. That's what we're here for. We're here to take care of your loved ones. And we treat them like family. We hear that all the time. It's a family.
And I think it's fair to say that this is something that you should look into before you have to, not when mom's driving me crazy. She wants me to come over, and I can't be there all the time, and it becomes a last resort kind of thing. The plan, it's part of life that you plan for, and going to see facilities like yours is a good idea.
Right.
To go see what they offer.
Right. And see what your loved one wants. I mean, my mom is, she's 75 and going strong and lives by herself in her home. And she's very active and not there. And she will say to me, "Ella, don't put me in one of those places." And now it's like, oh, I have a place where I would love for you to be. And she would love it. She would love being there with all the other girls and guys playing cards and doing whatever when it's time, and we'll know when it's time. But it's nice to have that option, and find out what they want. There are people who want the big resort experience. If you can do that, do it. The pricing, obviously, look at the budget. That's a big one. So, and look what all's included. And that's one of the things when I was first actually even interviewing for this position, through my friend, I was impressed with how much was included. Because when you look at some places, they'll say, okay, well, here's your price. Oh, and then you need that. Well, that's going to be this additional fee. And that's okay, because some places just price their things differently. If you go to our website, like we were just showing, there's a little button that you click on that says services. It shows you everything that's included, from Wi-Fi to phone to the 3 meals a day to the snacks, laundry service. We do our residence laundry individually. And that's one of those things that you don't think about. Is it all done? Do they throw it out in the hallway and they group it all together, and does it get lost and mixed up? We do it one at a time. This person's laundry, then this person's laundry. You don't have to put their names in their clothes like you do at some other facilities. So it's all right there. Each one that you click on will show you the additional services, and everything there is included in the pricing. And another thing that you can find on our website is the pricing. We're very proud of it. We do not hide anything. It is right there for you. So
no lost leaders in there.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And, we're not going to take you on a tour. And then make you sit down and go through the paperwork and all of that. So.
And for those listening and watching, MustangCreekEstates.com. Go to the website, and if there are questions, you can always call and ask the questions.
Absolutely.
Terri, what is your background? What brought you to Mustang Creek Estates?
Oh, so many different varied things. So my background, actually, the largest portion of my career, I was an HR director for a group of hotels. And had opened many large resorty hotels and had moved here for that very reason. And so I had been working in that, left that profession years ago just because it was, if you're an HR director in a hotel, that means you're a 24/7, 365-day-a-year HR person. And it's great, but I was ready to see my family a little more. So I moved on, did some other things. I also have a Mary Kay business, which the only reason I bring that up is because my person that called me for this position was actually one of my customers. And we were talking over the summer, and I had been working for another company, and my position was eliminated March 1st of last year. And I was just kind of hanging out with my grandson and the kids and taking a little break. And she said, "What are you doing right now?" And I told her that, and she said, "Well, I've been thinking about this position, and I think you're perfect for it." And it was the community relations director, which is what I actually do. So primarily what I do is I go out and tell people about Mustang Creek Estates. So I get to, when we have residents who are what we call off campus, which means maybe they had to go to the hospital, or maybe they had a fall or something along those lines. Maybe they're in rehab or a nursing home while they're getting better. I go visit them. Technically, I visit them. Right now, it means I take them and get them, and I drop them off at the door, and I say, "Oh, we're thinking about them." We write a little card. But
How are you today?
Yeah, exactly. I never even get to see them, unfortunately. There was one little brief moment in time where they kind of opened it up and they let me go in and see one gentleman, and I was so happy that I actually got to talk with him. But so I do that, and then I also work with nursing homes and hospitals. A lot of times what will happen is somebody in independent living or in their own apartment or home falls or gets sick. Unfortunately, COVID has really, really taken a toll on people. And it's so hard for them to recover. And then they can't go back home by themselves. So that's kind of where we are able to help out, because they can't stay in the nursing home or the hospital. They can't go back home. Where do they go? They come to assisted living. And so that, a lot of times you were asking earlier, what are the indicators? Unfortunately, that's been a big one lately. They just can't, their bodies are just so ravaged by COVID that they got to go somewhere else. So.
Do you see, Terri, we've only been in this job a little while, but probably long enough to see the ages that you have, or are the ages for people going into your facilities, are they younger? Are they getting younger? Not necessarily.
You're right. I haven't worked in the industry that long, but from what I can tell, and honestly, we have ages all across the board. Sometimes it's younger people who just can't take care of themselves at home. They may be, maybe they, have a physical disability or something along those lines that they aren't able to take care of themselves at home. So it's not just seniors. And our seniors do live longer now because, we have more advances in modern medicine. So people are living longer. And I think that's where kind of this clash of things has happened is used to, you lived at home and then you as somebody told me once, discharged to heaven. It's a very pleasant way to look at it. But now we're living longer, but we may not actually be able to take care of ourselves, or our spouses aren't there to help us out. We do have couples sometimes that will move in together, so we can accommodate that if we need to. And it's all over the board. So
okay, and if they want to go out and get their hair cut, or they want to go out for lunch, or they need to go to the doctor, then it's the family's responsibility to come pick them up, right, and take them to those appointments.
Usually it's something like that. I will say we do have people who come in and cut hair. We do have people who will come in and do nails when it's safe. So those are options. We do have those things in our communities, and we also have doctors who we have house calls all the time. We have several doctors. Yeah, we have several doctors. Eye doctors will come in and do the eye exams there. They have mobile units that they can bring with them, and they just do everything right there in the home.
Nice.
Oh, that makes it easier, because as you were saying, I know my mom is in her own 1-bedroom apartment in a retirement home in Florida. But it still is incumbent upon my sister, who lives very close by, to come take her to get her hair done, to come take her if she wants a couple things at the grocery store, she takes her.
Yeah.
And it still is a lot on my sister, even though she's not living with my sister.
Sure.
So,
it is. It really is. And that's how my friend was too. She didn't live with her, but she kind of had the responsibility of that. But yeah, I mean, and there are a lot of family members who will pick them up and take them to the doctor. We can make arrangements if we need to, but having that option of just doing it right there. We work with some different healthcare organizations that will come in and do different medications or things like that. And you can always Medicare will pay for a lot of the healthcare that you bring in. So if it's something that we necessarily don't do, I will say we are proud to say we do not have nurses. We don't have medical staff, and we don't want that because that's not what we're there for. We can get that, and we can take care of them and make sure they're taking care of them whenever they need. But for example, a lot of times people will talk about the medications, and that was another indicator. If they're forgetting to take their medication, you're getting the refill, but there's not anything gone. That's a big one because they need that medication. And so we actually take those pharmacy prescriptions. They go to a pharmacy who blister packs them. So let's say Terri has to take these 3 medications at 8 o'clock in the morning. So there's a little pack, and it has my name and my little barcode and my 3 medications on that one package. And so the caregiver takes it down there, makes sure I take it. It's not administering the medication, it's just making sure they take it. And if they don't, that's one of the things I love about our caregivers. If I don't take my medication, that caregiver is going to call my family and say, we're having a little issue. We're finding it, they're not swallowing it. And they'll stay there and make sure that as much as they can that they'll take it. But what if I always eat the meatloaf on Tuesday nights, and all of a sudden I say, oh, I hate meatloaf? We need to know about that. And having that one caregiver who is in that home and responsible for that home and their family, it's just like you would notice that, all of a sudden somebody's not changing their clothes like they should. Well, that's an indicator, and the family needs to know that. We need to make sure that the family knows, and if we need to get a doctor's appointment scheduled or whatever. So having that one-on-one, communication and engagement is crucial and a big part of what we do. So,
it really is.
Yeah.
Terri, I often see that sometimes the facilities are age-based and others are need-based. Obviously as we seniors get older and cannot take care of ourselves as much, it becomes kind of an age-based thing. But dementia and Alzheimer's has no age derivation. And also, are your facilities like need-based? So it could be a 40-year-old that is,
in memory care,
getting dementia or Alzheimer's,
Right.
that has the need for a facility. They can become a resident at Mustang Creek.
Oh, absolutely. We have some younger people there. that just have some different, challenges, and it's based on whatever they need. So absolutely.
And if they're able, are they allowed to go out for a walk, or do they have to have somebody with them?
No. It obviously
depending on their circumstances.
memory care will take them, and sometimes if they want to go, and we may have a little bit of a concern that they may need help, we'll have someone go with them.
Yeah.
We do have what we call floaters, if you will, that are in kind of roaming around the different houses at any time, and so they can help out with that, or our activities people, or executive directors, or whoever's there. If they don't have a family member that wants to come by, or we'll take them. Absolutely, we encourage it. I mean, outdoor, getting that fresh air and that exercise, that's all very important. So absolutely.
Then you have one or two people that are there 24/7 at night as well.
Yes, we do. So each resident gets a call button pendant that we want them to wear in case they have a problem. But because we have the staff there, they know who to look for and what to check, and in the end, the different routines and things like that, depending on the home that they're in. But yes, we really want them using that call button, because that's what that's for. If they need help, or they need a drink, or they need to go to the bathroom, or whatever it is,
that's their lifeline.
Come straight to them. Yep, absolutely.
The one thing that you mentioned earlier that I think is really well thought out for Mustang estates is the fact that every resident is at ground level, and they all have a window so they can look outside. I think about my aunt who suffered from dementia, and she was on the 6th floor of a high rise. And when she looked out her window, all she saw was sky.
Yeah.
And there was nothing to relate. And it seemed to me that would be more confining. But the way that this is set up to be able to look out and see sidewalks and trees and bushes and flowers.
Well, I would like to think that things are changing. And Terri, you said Mustang Creek Estates is what, about 15 years old?
That particular location, yes. The company.
Yeah. And I would like to think that since your aunt has passed away, that things have evolved.
I think so.
Things are changing. And
well, I think when we were growing up, this kind of care was really referred to as nursing homes.
Yes,
it was.
You went into a nursing home. Then there were the assisted living, the adult retirement communities that have golf courses and tennis courses and biking paths and all of that. Right. So there's choices out there, and that's why I say, to me, it makes it sometimes possibly difficult for people to determine not only what's right for my loved one, but also what can I afford. And as you say, when you can say to somebody, this is what you can consider, without all the add-ons, the upgrades, if you will, like buying the plain sedan, but then adding all of the all the upgrades.
Right.
Well, and I also think you talked about years ago. I think years ago there were more families that took in their loved ones, their moms, their dads, their aunts, their uncles. But now, at least before COVID, I mean, the way money is these days, sometimes you need both mom and dad to work, and they can't be there for their mother, their father, their aunt, their uncle, whoever.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
add to that the fact that the kids have been homeschooling all this time. Now mom and dad say, I gotta run over to mom's house and see if she's okay for dinner.
Yeah, things have really changed over the past
the last year, but even in the last decade, 20 years. I mean, if you look at the family structure, and granted, we all still want to take care of them, but we're all working longer too.
Right.
In the past, people were retiring at 40 or 50 years old, and
you can't anymore.
You can't do that anymore, or you don't do that. Most of the time you can't, but financially, you just got to keep going. So I think that has a lot to do with it too. I think that whole family unit change and shift has brought along this need as well. So,
do you have a difficult time us being in the retail business, we were always conscious of our employees, and we were a family retail operation. So we always wanted our stores to be run like a family.
Right.
But does Mustang Creek have a difficult time finding good, reliable employees? This is not.
It's not for everyone.
It takes a special person.
That's right.
It definitely
It
does.
really does.
And the fun thing, I asked that very question, being a former HR director, I'm like, because I know what we would look for in our hotels and in different, I was a full service hotel. So we had everything from housekeepers to front desk to banquets to sales. I mean, so it was like a little city.
Right.
And that was one of my first questions is, how do you find and a lot of times people will call them nurses, and we're very quick to say they're not nurses. We don't have nurses. And I think my vice president of sales said it best. She said, we look for homemakers. We want people who take care of other people from the heart, because they're doing the laundry and they're doing the cleaning and they're doing the cooking. So we want that homemaker to take care of our residents, and that's
Interactors.
That's a very good point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it does take a special person, and we have some of the best. I mean, our caregivers are amazing. And you can just tell they love what they do. They love being with the residents and making sure they're taken care of. So it's definitely a special person.
Have you had any love stories? Any get-togethers? I mean,
I'm sure there are some. I don't personally know of any. I probably should have asked that before this, but with it being almost Valentine's Day, I'm sure there's a little romance every now and then.
There usually is. I know it isn't my mom's.
Yeah.
There usually is, and that's nice. I mean, it's good to see at that age.
I like the idea that there's, you said 15 residents per building.
On average.
I mean, that's such a manageable number where they know each other by their first names. They sit and as you said, they can play checkers or cards or whatever together, and it's.
That's what struck me when I walked in there to the Frisco location, and everybody was first name basis, and it was just so laid back and like a family.
Yeah. And I mean, in their rooms, they can have things like if they have a little TV or a coffee maker or mini fridge or whatever. The rooms are big enough that they can have that in there if they choose. But we really want them coming out and engaging,
socializing, and
participating. That's why it's set up the way it is with the living room structure. And come out and lounge on the couch and watch the football game if you want, or hang out with your friends at the dining room table and drink your coffee. That's what we want.
Was last Sunday a busy Sunday at the facilities? Everybody watching the Super Bowl?
I don't know how many people were actually, they probably watched everything but the halftime show. I'm sure that was quite the topic of conversation.
They probably show up for the snacks.
Right? Where's the food? That's all we care about.
Hey, whatever it takes. That's okay.
Right. They'll throw big parties like that around different things like that. It's so much fun. I mean, the activities directors that we have are just incredible. The things they think of, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's adorable. That's so fun. I want to go there.
Do you have one activities director for each
community?
Really?
Yeah. Yes. So Allen has one, Frisco has one, Saxe has one, Burles and Keller.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And how many buildings did you say there were roughly in each location?
5 to 6 homes at each. Uh-huh.
And 15 in each?
Yes, it's a good manageable number.
Now, Allen was a little, that was our first community. So each time we build one, we go, oh, let's do this differently, or let's do that.
Right.
So there's about 12 to 13 in Allen homes, just the size of the homes. And then some of our other ones, it's about 15 at max.
So about 100 people total. That's very, very manageable, very doable.
It is, it's doable.
Yeah. And we do have, they're all private rooms. The memory care, we do semi-private for the most part. They can have a private room if they like, but they've found that our residents that may have dementia or Alzheimer's, it's almost worse for them to be in a room by themselves because they get nervous and scared and things like that. So having them with someone really makes a big difference. So
Do you have a waiting list, or are there some openings in a few of the locations?
We have openings. Unfortunately, last year when COVID, I feel like everything starts or ends with and then COVID.
Well, it's,
Right,
it's what it is.
It is. It took a toll on a lot of our industry just because you would have people passing away, and that's an unfortunate part of our business is we lose people because of age usually, but because we would lose people from age-related, issues, people weren't moving people in because the last thing somebody wanted to do was move a family member in and drop them off at the porch and say, okay, thanks, we'll see you in a year or so when all this is gone. So people were holding on to their loved ones a little more, or keeping them in the home, or trying to keep them in a nursing home longer and things like that. And it was unfortunate. So we definitely have some rooms that we could look at.
Well, all the information that you need is at mustangcreekestates.com. And, if you have questions for yourself, for your loved ones, maybe for a neighbor or someone that you think might be heading a little bit more in this direction, call Terri, and she'll point you in the right direction and give you all the information that you need. Thank you very, very much for spending the time with us. And these are troubled times, and it's always good to have that advanced information so that you know where to turn, as I said, before the need is there, rather than when the need is hitting you right in the face.
Right. You want to make those plans ahead of time and find out where they're safest and happiest, and feel most at home. So,
well, Terri Martinez, the community relations director at Mustang Creek Estates. Thank you very, very much for spending the time with us.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Thanks, Terri, so much. I'm very impressed.
You're welcome. Good.
That'll do it for another edition of Something to Talk About. I hope you go out and make a good rest of your week, and plan to join us again next week for another edition of Something to Talk About. Take care.
Bye.